Good afternoon, everybody. Instagram's live, YouTube is live. I know there might have been some issues with scheduling, but here we are. But I know my loyal and lovely fan base will filter in with your wonderful questions. This week we're doing a Q&A. We're just going to answer your questions. We've been getting a ton of questions over the phone, emails. A lot of people ask the questions on the various videos and comments, which is fantastic. I do everything I can to answer everyone's questions. And there are a lot of great questions out there. So we were going to do a Q&A this week so that we can make sure we address all of your issues, all your questions, all your concerns, and make everybody happy while they're dealing with this tough time in their life. Just to get rolling here, we did pull some of the better questions that I've seen. Some of these I've already answered in the comment sections, but I also just wanted to talk about it with everybody here. So I'm posting up here. So one question I hear all the time, and whether it's from existing clients that I have, new clients that come in, people just calling and asking questions, posting questions, is this one. If you take a settlement, is it true that you'll lose your job? And this is a big concern. Hold on 1 second. Instagram, I'm sorry, I had to put my do not disturb on. I always forget to do that. And there we go. We're back on Instagram. If you take a settlement, is it true you'll lose your job? The answer to that question, if you're looking for a yes or a no, the audio is not coming through the mic, it's coming through the computer. Please hold, folks. Please hold, folks.
How's that? How's that? Sai, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down on the audio. Better. There we go. Sorry. You know, with these computers nowadays. Princess, thank you, Princess. Jazzy, thank you. Okay, we're gonna try this again. Is it true if you take a settlement? Is it true that you'll lose your job? So if you're looking for a yes or a no, the answer is no. It's not true. But there's an asterisk. There's a Barry Bonds asterisk on there. Some insurance companies, some employers do make it a requirement as a term of settlement that you resign from your position for them to settle. There's a lot of the bigger employers, and unfortunately the smaller ones are starting to file along only because the insurance companies are making it a thing now where they're requiring resignation as a term of your settlement. The board is starting to get involved with this as well. They used to have a problem. Some judges had a problem with you resigning as part of a separate agreement. Now the resignation must be part of the Section 32 settlement in order for it to be effective. But as a general matter, no. And it's not. It's a small percentage of the time is a resignation requirement. I can't stand when they throw that in there. I try to fight it as much as I can. We're here to settle your case. We're not here to give you a blanket resignation and release, Mr. and Mrs. Insurance Company. So we do see it. Generally speaking, it is not a full-on requirement, but some insurance companies and some employers do make it a condition of settlement, unfortunately. We just had one. I mean, I don't want to name names with respect to employers because I don't want to give them the publicity, but a larger company that deals with shipping parcels to your home requires it. And we had a settlement that we had all worked out and said and done, and papers were signed. And they said, hey, where's our resignation agreement? I said, you never sent me a resignation agreement that you wanted signed, nor did you make it a term of the negotiation of your case. Sorry, they're doing construction out my window, so we're trying to also squeeze in our live time so we're not dealing with jackhammers. But this particular company said, well, you know that we always require resignation. I say, I know better than that I don't represent your client. I represent my client, so I really don't care what you want. And look, on Instagram, you guys are popping them up with all the I gave enough of a clue. But I said, I don't represent your employer. I don't care what they require generally. That's not my problem. That's your problem to make it part of the negotiation. And they didn't. And we fought back and forth. And unfortunately, everyone lost out on a rather good settlement that would have benefited all parties. And we're going to sit and litigate this case to death and have a pissed off client, and rightfully so. And he has a pissed off lawyer, rightfully so. And we're going to do everything we can to beat him over the head with their case. It's not the U.S. Postal Service. That much I could tell you. That's federal. We don't handle U.S. postal worker cases. Unfortunately, we don't do federal comp. So you need to find a federal attorney who handles those. And we don't do post office cases. But that being said, you guys get the idea. Larger companies, big national companies do oftentimes require it as a term of their settlement. And unfortunately, sometimes you got to deal with it. Sometimes not. Sometimes we could fight about it. Sometimes we can get additional consideration. I like the fact that sometimes they forget to mention it, because if my client is motivated to settle and really doesn't want to ever go back to this employer again, especially with the way they're playing hardball right now, I'll say, what's the consideration? What are you giving in return for this resignation? And usually it's $100 or $150 or $200. It's usually a very low amount that they'll give in consideration for the resignation itself. But there are times that I'll say, hey, you didn't bring this up before. We agreed on a dollar value for settlement of this case, and now you're throwing in this additional term, which hurts my client and benefits you. You got to give him something for that. So there are times we'll get pretty significant money in exchange for that resignation. So there you have it. It's not a blanket truth that you're going to lose your job if you settle your case, but it is an issue from time to time. And Massavino, to answer your question, yes, that is a duck behind me. I am a duck hunter, and I do like fishing. So thank you for joining us. Next question, folks. And as I said before, I know we were early. For some reason, we were signed on to appear at 4:30. We got our times mixed up a little bit. But I see everyone's trickling in with their questions. So I do thank you. Can they make an offer and then go back or down on that offer if you fire your representation? And this is a multifaceted, great question. You don't even know how good you are, Stephen Van D Key 7565. You don't know how good you are, Mikey. So there's a lot to this question. That's why I wanted to address it. Settlements are voluntary. Nobody can force an insurance company, or no one can force you to settle your case. Listen, they can put the pressure on you, and you can put the pressure on them, and vice versa. But no one can force anybody to settle a case. Settlements are voluntary. Negotiations are voluntary. You can't force anybody to do anything. So under those terms, if they make an offer to you and they decide, we offered too much, they could turn around and call back tomorrow and say, the offer's off the table. We're withdrawing from the offer. We don't want to settle, or we're not settling for that much. It's for these reasons here in New York State, when you settle your case with a Section 32 settlement, there's a 10-day cooling off period, waiting period. Once your case is settled, you negotiate a settlement, you agree on a number, you go draft and sign off and submit all the paperwork. The board reviews your papers. They give you a hearing date. You go in front of the judge. The judge goes through all the terms of the agreement with you to make sure that you understand it, and the insurance company, everybody's on the same page and wants to settle your case. And the judge approves that settlement. Even at that point, both parties still have the opportunity to withdraw from the agreement. There's a 10-day period after the day the judge approves of your agreement for you to withdraw and remove yourself from that agreement if you don't want to do it. They are voluntary actions by all parties. So even if a judge approves your agreement, you can send a letter to the board. You have 10 days following the approval date to say, hey, court, and hey, insurance company, I gave this some more thought. I don't want to settle. And you could back away. You're not locked in until after that 10 days passes. So looking at it from that perspective, excuse me, if the insurance company makes an offer to you, they can go back on that offer, as you say. They can go down on that offer if they say. They could do whatever they want for whatever reason. So whether it's because you fired your lawyer, hired a new lawyer, change doctors, stop seeing your doctor, whatever change in the facts. I mean, firing your representation is the least of it. It's rare that they'll change their offer based upon that. It's usually a more substantive reason that impacts the value of your case. But yeah, they can change their offer. They can reduce their offer. They can eliminate their offer. They could opt not to settle. They can. So nobody's bound by any settlement, negotiation, or agreement until it is final. And I think the answer I gave you, Stephen Van de Key, 7565, Mikey, is that it's not final until it's final. It's not done until that 10 days passes and it is final. And only up until that point Is it actually locked in and etched in stone? So it's a great question. These are all, I should preface this, all the questions I have here on the slides today, gold star worthy, great questions from great people. So thank you. Why do some attorneys never return emails or phone calls and ignore their clients? You know what? We're facing the music here, lawyers, and I'm gonna represent on this one. You know, I get it, and sometimes it seems like we're not answering the phone and we're not calling you back. We're not answering emails. And listen, some lawyers are better at it than others. I understand. I always try to make a point to get back to everybody. And there are some lawyers that are better at communication than others, and there's some clients that are better at communication than others. You know, you have the one set of clients that only call you if it's an emergency, and they understand that you're doing your job and you're going to do the best you can for them, and they kind of lock in their trust, and they're not very garrulous people, and they let you do your job, and you talk to them when you have a hearing, and you talk to them when something important comes up, and other than that, you really just kind of let them run with the ball. And then there's clients who literally will call for very and listen, what's minor to one person might be a major concern to other people, but we get some very interesting questions on a very frequent basis from a very definable group of clients and non-clients that call with a lot of, I mean, there are some clients that call every day, and there are some clients that call multiple times a day, and I love each and every one of you. But it might seem like we're dodging or we're not, and we're ignoring you, as the question said, and it's not necessarily the case. You know, sometimes you just have a high volume that day. You have a lot of hearings, you have a lot of calls, you have a lot of emails coming in, and you got to just kind of do your best to get back to everybody and answer questions the best you can. And it's also difficult because I like to spend my time with each of my clients the same way I like to spend my time on my lives here with you guys. I want to give you 100%. And if you don't have that time, if it's 1:26 and I have a 1:30 hearing, you know, to jump on the phone or to jump on your phone call when you're calling at that point in time, you know, I don't want to compromise that phone call. I don't want to give you less than what you deserve. And sometimes I'll tell my staff to take it a message, and I'll call you back when I can, because I want to give you my full attention and 100% of what I got for you. And you got to handle those hearings, and you got to handle those phone depositions, and you got clients that are sitting in your office. So it does get difficult. It is a juggling act, and most people do understand it. You know, if your lawyer is really not returning emails or phone calls, and it's I kind of give this word of advice to a lot of people in very similar circumstances. Call the office, speak to their staff, make an appointment, and go in and sit down across a desk from them and tell them what your concerns are. And if the concern includes them not getting back to you, say, hey, I had some pretty important questions I had emailed you. I really would appreciate a return email or phone call to explain to me what's going on, just so I can put my mind at ease. And there's nothing wrong with that. I get it. I've been on both sides of this, and whether it's, you know, trying to get an answer from your lawyer or your doctor or what have you, I understand the frustration. And that is why this question, even though you think I'd try to dodge it, is a gold star question, because it's totally the it's sometimes it's the elephant in the room, and I get it. And your concern is real, and your frustration is real. I see the questions are coming in. I love it. So I'm not going to even try to oh, there it is. It's easier than I thought. Bad gal Sheila BB. Is an MSA only for old people and people receiving Medicare? So let's talk MSAs. MSAs, we have two different types of MSAs. You have the formalized, required MSA, and then you have the informal MSA, which is what the parties agree is an appropriate amount of money to pay for future medical. If you are receiving Social Security disability benefits, Social Security benefits, and you are receiving Medicare, or if you're expected to receive any of those, if there's a reasonable expectation that you're going to be on Social Security and or Medicare, then most of the time, if the number is above a certain level, and there's a few other factors that come into play here, but most of the time, a formal Medicare set aside is required. If you're on Social Security, if you are receiving Medicare, or if there's a reasonable expectation of receiving those benefits, then a formal Medicare set aside is required. The settlement also has to be over $25,000. There's a lot of factors that come into play here. Not many, but there are factors that come into play here. But usually, you know, if you hear the person is receiving Social Security and or Medicare, then MSA the MSA flag goes up. And a formal Medicare set aside is required. And the insurance company, what they do, generally speaking, and I'm simplifying the process, is they have their own people work up what they believe a Medicare set aside amount should be. They look at what your treatment looks like. They look at what your medical treatment, your medications, your physical therapy, your need for ongoing imaging and testing down the road, your possible need for surgery, causally related, of course. All these things need to be related to your work-related accident and injuries, but they try to figure out how much it's going to cost to pay for your treatment for the rest of your life, your causally related treatment for the rest of your life. Because if they didn't settle, they would be on the hook for all that stuff. So they do their best to determine what that is, and that proposal is then sent off to Medicare, and Medicare will either approve it, deny it, modify it, or they give it their own look, and they recommend a Medicare set aside. And it is then the obligation of the parties to respect that Medicare set aside moving forward with the settlement. So if Medicare has determined that it's going to cost $80,000 for all of your call, and also you have to understand that's boiled down to present dollar value. If you're a 30-year-old with a bad back, and they say you need $80,000 for your future medical, you don't need $80,000 tomorrow for your future medical. You need $80,000 for the rest of your life. So that $80,000 could be $140,000 when it's stretched out over time with interest rates and so on and so forth. So it's present dollar value for your future medical, and it's not all needed upfront, which is why many insurance companies, especially with larger Medicare set-asides, MSAs, will annuitize that. They will go to a bank or a financial institution, and they'll say, hey, we need to pay this person $80,000 for the future, for their medical care, their future medical care for the rest of their life. And the bank says, well, how about you give me $60,000? We'll turn around and pay this person $15,000 tomorrow when they settle their case, and we'll give them $1,500 a year until it's paid off. My math might be off. That might have a person living to 120, but you understand the picture here. So they'll take less money, and it costs the insurance company less money because they annuitize that MSA and get it paid out over a period of time, and that's how it's done. Now, in circumstances where a formal Medicare set-aside is not required, what we do, the insurance company and the attorney will try to figure out what the cost of your future medical care will be. And the board has some guidelines here to try to figure that out. It's usually a 10% allocation, but it can be whatever, depending on the specific facts and circumstances with a given case. And then the case is settled. So there's a Medicare set-aside. There should be a Medicare set-aside in every Section 32, full and final Section 32 settlement here in New York State workers' compensation. So to answer your question, after all that, bad gal Sheila BB, no, an MSA is not only for old people and people receiving Medicare. And that Medicare set-aside is for us all. But it's a great question. Now, Jerry Thompson has a whole different problem here. Jerry Thompson has 5 different impairment ratings. Do they combine them together into one? And great question. The answer is it depends. What are your 5 different impairment? Now, okay, let's start with this. When you say you have 5 different impairment ratings, do you have 5 different doctors giving you their impairment rating for one injury? Do you have a chiropractor, an orthopedist, pain management, and 2 different IMEs giving their opinion on your lumbar disability? Or do you have 5 impairment ratings for 5 different body parts? And if you have 5 different body parts, are there any non-schedulable sites mixed into those 5? If you're talking about your left knee, your right knee, your left elbow, your right elbow, and your left shoulder, well, then you have 5 schedules. And the beauty part is they are each payable on their own. So they take the schedule for each one of those, whatever it turns out to be, and you get all of those added together. So a 10% of the arm gets you 31.2 weeks. A 10% of the other arm gets you another 31.2 weeks. So now you're at 62.4 weeks. A 10% of the leg is going to get you another 28.8 weeks. And all that gets added up and multiplied by your maximum compensation rate, not a partial rate, but your total rate of compensation gets totaled up, multiplied by that figure, prior payments are deducted and the balance moves to you. And if you have a lawyer, your lawyer gets 15% of that balance that moves. Very simple. Now, if you do have schedulable sites, non-schedulable sites, if you have a neck and a back or a head or whatever mixed into that, then what happened? And then the next question to ask is the person working or not working? If they're working, you kind of want to go the schedule route, most likely. Again, circumstances are very important here. Are you working at reduced earnings? There's a lot of different questions. If you're not working, you're going to want to probably go the non-schedule route, where you're going to go, they're going to figure out how bad this neck or back or neck and back injury is. And then the judge should consider also, well, maybe you have a back injury and a knee injury and a shoulder injury, and your back is a severity of a D, like dog, and that's a moderate disability. And vocationally, you don't have much that works for you or against you, so that's not going to make a change. But you also have a 50% schedule loss of use of your shoulder. Well, that is going to get brought into consideration, or it should be, and your lawyer should certainly highlight that to the judge when it's permanency time. Judge, not only does this person have a 50% permanent disability to their back, got a 50% permanent injury to the shoulder. So as a whole, that overall 50% should be brought up a little bit, and you should consider that shoulder. And there's also a knee, judge. There's also a site claim, judge. So it really depends on the specifics of your case. It's a great question. It opens the door to a lot of different answers, I know. And I would love to talk about it some more. If you don't have a lawyer, you should give me a call so I can answer your question specifically. If you do have a lawyer, go through it with them. As you know, Jerry Thompson, 443, and everybody else, I am Rex Zachofsky. And if anybody wants to give me a call, 212-406-8989, and I'm here to help. Now, we got a ton of calls this week from YouTubers and Instagrammers and people that are finding us online with some great questions, great concerns. And I'm happy to say we're helping a lot of people because that's what I like doing. Coffee time. Now, Richie Chop. Richie, I know always has good questions for me. And this is a good one. If I don't settle, then how does my lawyer get paid? Great question. If you don't settle with a Section 32, or a stipulated agreement, or any agreement between the parties, and your case is just going to run its course through litigation, through the board, through the process that the law sets out for us, even if you don't reach an agreement on schedules, let's say, the judge is going to ask for your doctor's schedule, their doctor's schedule, will take testimony from both sides, and he'll make a decision. And your lawyer, if there's money moving at the end, your lawyer should get a fee from that. If you don't lose time, if it's a non-schedulable injury and you don't really lose time, or you lose very little time, or they paid you voluntarily, a lawyer doesn't get paid unless he helps move money to you. In the case of a permanent partial disability, or an LWEC, as we've discussed, loss of wage earning capacity, if you're out of work for a long period of time and your lawyer helps litigate your case to the point where the judge makes an LWEC determination, you have a 50% or a 75% or a 60%, whatever it is, permanent partial disability, and you get awarded benefits based upon that, then there is a fee that's payable to the attorney as long as that money is going to continue to move to you. So there are each circumstance has a different method for how your lawyer gets paid and if your lawyer gets paid. But generally speaking, if you don't get anything, your lawyer doesn't get anything. It's like those law commercials you see on daytime TV. We get nothing unless you get paid. So that's kind of the case here. It is the case here. With that, folks, that's all my questions that I wanted to address. And I'm going to answer your questions. And Julio wanted to tell me that he rejected his first offer. How long do you think it will take for another offer? I've been on my case for 6 months. So if your injury is only 6 months old and you're looking at a September-ish date of accident, you're in the early stages of a claim. Usually, even in smaller type of cases, you look for a year or so, but it really depends. We have an accident case that we took in January, the January accident, and the insurance company's already asking if we want to settle. So it does happen. If you rejected their first offer, my question really is, did you counter them? Do you have a counter offer that you sent over to them to try to get more money? That's really what the next question should be. If you didn't, talk to your lawyer, come up with a counter offer, shoot it over to them, and get on them. And if you want to settle this and you're ready to be done with it, clearly they're somewhat ready to settle it if they made an offer, and try to hammer it out. It's impossible to say how long things are going to take, because some insurance companies take longer than others. Some adjusters take longer than others. Some cases take longer than others. And it's just it's tough to say, but work the process. And the process is, you got an offer, you rejected it, counter them, and then keep going at them until you can get an answer to your counter. Hopefully it's something that you find suitable and you can get your case closed and moved on. This is Tom Callahan, Big Tom Callahan's son. Good afternoon, Rex. Does my new job affect my settlement of Section 32 if my salary is higher than my former job? It shouldn't. I got to turn the air on. I'm melting in here. The remote control's not working. I'm going to have to get up and do this manual. It shouldn't. Does your lawyer know that you returned to work? Does the insurance company know you returned to work? I don't know the specifics of the case that gave rise to the claim where you're filing a Section 32. So there's a few little questions I'd have there, but generally speaking, it shouldn't. But make sure your lawyer knows what's going on, and ask him those questions. He knows your case, and he knows your facts, and he knows how to address this, but it shouldn't. How about those brake pads? Hey, Rex. Hey. How are you? Megan Jade. Hello. I have a neck injury from an L&I claim that closed in... you got to tell me what L&I is. Long End Island. That was closed in 2018. I was never better. When my claim was closed, my doctor at the time said we should just put off surgery as long as possible. Now I need surgery. I have all my MRIs and records to date. L&I made it worse to go to their IME, and of course they said my injury wasn't any worse. I do have 2 surgeons consultations. I have a lawyer now, and we're going before the judge to appeal the decision. Anything I can do to help? Well, when you say appeal a decision, it sounds more like you're combating what the insurance company's IME had to say about your need for surgery. Usually when you say the term appealing, you're appealing a judge's decision. So if you're now at the level where the trial level, where the judge is going to hear your case and address your need for surgery, I'd say you're in a good place right now to move things forward. I would certainly make sure you speak with your lawyer before you go to court, so that you guys are on the same page, and your doctor as well. Your doctor might want to supplement any of his medical records, if anything new has happened, any new testing, MRIs, anything else, or if there are a change in your condition, just to show your absolute need for treatment and surgery. So that would be my recommendation to you. Dirty Money Vintage, is that Co? Took your advice and acquired a law. I had a law for a couple of years, and then my law got old, and I wound up getting a new law. And I'm assuming you got a lawyer, my friend, but a law is nice to have. Yassi Jazzy, can a denial case be overturned if the work injury wasn't turned in by the employer? Can a denial case be overturned if the work injury wasn't turned in by the employer? So you filed a case and the insurance company denied it, but it turns out your employer never notified the insurance company. And is that grounds to get the insurance company to overturn the denial? Certainly, if you can show the insurance company the error of your employer's ways and the error of their ways and why your case should be compensable. Yeah, that's why here in New York we have the notice requirement. The acronym we use is ANCR here in New York. What are the elements of a compensable workers' compensation claim? It's ANCR, accident, notice, and causal relationship. Did you have a work-related accident? We also use ODNCR, occupational disability, notice, and causal relationship. So did you have an accident or an occupational disability? An accident, I got hit by a car, I fell down the stairs, somebody slammed the door on me, I got punched, whatever. Accidents are definable. 1 minute you're fine, the next minute you had an accident and then you're in pain. An occupational disability, also known as repetitive stress, carpal tunnel syndrome. I type all day and my wrists are killing me. I went to the doctor, I have carpal tunnel. We see it with carpet layers and guys who do flooring, people who do flooring that are on their knees all day, especially using those kneelers? What the hell do they call them? I don't know if you've ever seen anybody install carpet, but it is violent as hell. They have a device, it's a metal thing with like a gripper on the front of it, It almost looks like those things that they use to scrub industrial grills. And on the back of it is a pad. And they put this thing down, they grip the carpet and get it close to the wall. And then they take their knee and slam it into this big metal device to jam the carpet into place. And while, it's got a pad on it and you're really just working with carpet and you're not hammering stone, you do this a couple thousand times over the course of the day and over the course of the week and over the course of your lifetime, you're probably going to have a leg issue at some point in time. We see it pretty frequently, but those are occupational cases. Now, I have gone on my tangent and I'm going to bring it back to your question, Yazzie Jazzy. And that is why New York State has a notice requirement. So in addition to having an accident or an occupational disability, you must give notice. And if you could prove that notice was given and it was timely and it was per statute, then you're kind of fighting exactly the situation that you're looking at here. Here in New York State, you have 30 days to give written notice to your employer or supervisor of your work-related injury or occupational disability. And that's what the law says, 30 days in writing, unless the law also says, unless they have actual notice. What's actual notice? Well, if you're trimming a tree up on a ladder and you fall off the ladder and the chainsaw falls and hits you on the head and your boss is standing there holding the ladder, well, he has actual notice. He knows about it. And actual notice is also if your boss is out getting more garbage bags and he's at Home Depot and you fall off the ladder and you get hit in the head. When you come to and you wake up and you say, holy crap, what just happened? And you say, hey, boss, where the hell are you? I just fell off a ladder and the chainsaw hit me in the head. You just gave him written notice as well. And, those have been found to be sufficient. An actual notice could also be a coworker calling him or your husband or wife calling your supervisor or your employer from the hospital that night. All those things are sufficient as actual notice. So, to answer your question, yes, a denial by a carrier can be overturned if the employer didn't turn it in and you showed that they knew about it and that you actually had an accident, you gave notice, and that your injuries are causally related to that accident. Callahan's back. Do I have to first close the section 32? Do I have to close first section? Too many firsts. Who's on second? Before to prepare for a third-party hearing, how much it takes to obtain a third? You lost me, Callahan. You lost me. Do you have to first close your section 32 before? If you have a third-party action and you're a comp and you're considering closing both, you should talk to both lawyers and figure out what the proper course of action is, whether you should settle the comp with the third party first. Does tough surveillance demonstrate that my case is successful? When you say tough surveillance, meaning that they worked very hard and didn't find you doing anything wrong? I need some understanding here, my friend. If you want to call me, or anybody wants to call me, 212-406-8989. Gizmo, maybe because they're too busy making videos for new costumes. Who's making videos for new costumes? You guys are confusing me. This is a Q&A. I don't understand. Callahan, why my PT doctor keeps scheduling my evaluation even I'm done with MMI and SLU and IME? Ask him. Ask the doctor that referred you to the physical therapist. That's probably a better place to start. I'm still waiting for my approval hearing of my section 32 since November 24th. Is there anything wrong happening to the process of, okay, well, I understand your question. Why is it taking so long? Sometimes they take a long time. I can't answer that question. The board does the scheduling. You send everything in, and we have some cases that 32 out pretty quick, and we get hearings, and everything happens quickly and easily. And sometimes they drag on for a while. November 24th is a long time. Talk to your lawyer. Find out when the papers were submitted to the board. You might have went to sign with your lawyer on November 24th, but by the time the insurance company got the papers and they reviewed them and they signed them and whatever, that might be part of the delay. So talk to your lawyer. Get an answer from your lawyer. Is impairment rating based solely on range of motion? It's based a lot on range of motion. It's whether it's solely on range of motion, there are special considerations and other factors that are considered. The medical treatment guidelines and the guidelines for determining permanent impairment are openly available. Google them. Go to the board website. They're right there. They'll explain how they reach permanency determinations for every single body part. Range of motion is probably the biggest factor, especially for schedule loss, hands and fingers and feet and toes and arms and legs. But it's not everything. Julio, is it possible to work part-time while receiving workers' comp, or can you not work at all? Yes, it is possible to work part-time. I tell every one of my clients that the computer guys are leaving, so I'm waving. I tell every one of my clients, you're always better off working than not working. Under the best case scenario in workers' compensation, you're getting 2/3 of your salary. Under the best case scenario working, you're getting your whole salary. So you're always better off working than not working. If you can work part-time, light duty, go ahead and do it. Under the workers' compensation law, you're generally entitled to reduced earnings benefits. So if you go back to work at light duty, because that's the most you can do with your injuries, you'll get benefits for reduced earnings. You can at least try to get benefits for reduced earnings. Sometimes it might not be worth pursuing those up front, because if it's a scheduled loss case, it's just going to, any money you get up front is a deduction on the end. But, work. Why not? Go back to work, especially with a scheduled case, because it's less deductions coming off as a carrier credit from the end of your case. You wind up with more money. If you have schedulable injuries only, this is a general statement. If you have a shoulder, a knee, a shoulder and a knee, going back to work as soon as possible stops or slows down the amount of compensation you're receiving while your case is still temporary, while you're still healing. Once you're found to have a permanent disability and you're assigned a scheduled loss of use, the less money they've paid you up front is the less money they're going to take out of your case in the end. And if you worked for a period of time, you're earning salary there. So not only they're not paying you comp, which you're just going to get at the end anyway, because it's based upon how bad your injury is, regardless of whether you lost 1 week from work or 20 weeks from work. You worked in there and you made salary. You wind up making more money by going back to work. So Julio, go back to work. If you can do it, go for it, my friend. Sky O. Oh, Sky O is asking, is an impairment rating based solely on range of motion? Also, with an impairment rating, so impairment rating usually refers to the non-schedulable injuries, by the way. With an impairment rating, can insurance company deny initial settlement offer? Yes. Like we said, the first question we talked about, settlements are, I got an answer to a question there. Settlements are voluntary. Nobody can force anybody to settle, so they can deny, ignore, do whatever they want. So yeah, talk to your lawyer about if they're denying your initial offer, ask for a counter offer, try to engage them in some negotiation. Megan Jade was telling me what L&I stands for. It's labor and industry in Washington State. I'm assuming that's their workers' compensation department. I got a concussion from a truck accident. My employer refused to file a workers' compensation claim with his insurance and tried to make me use my own insurance, and my concussion turned into post-concussion syndrome because I didn't get the care right away. What are my options? Well, are we talking about New York State or not? I always draw the great triangle in this circumstance. People say, well, what happens when hold on, I'm going to do this. What happens when my company refuses to file or notify their insurance company of my workers' compensation case? And hold on, here we go. My handwriting is absolutely atrocious, so bear with me. We need to turn this into like a graphic because this is elementary as hell. But here it is. There's my, can everybody see I'm trying to get the gram and the YouTube. So injured worker gets hurt. Okay. Actually, I should draw a line this way too. Okay. Your injured worker gets hurt and he goes and tells boss, I just got hurt. It's really bad. Take me to the hospital. And the boss says, when you get to the hospital, make sure you tell them this happened at home. And then that's when the red flags start flying. And then you say, okay, but make sure you call your insurance company so I can get covered and I can get the medical treatment I need. And they say, no. If your employer never tells his insurance company carrier and the insurance company never tells the workers' compensation board, you would think you're SOL. We all know what SOL means, right? But if you, injured worker, contact a lawyer, whether you do or you don't, because you could skip the lawyer step. You don't have to call a lawyer. We just like when you do, and you contact the workers' compensation board directly, you have now given them notice. So now the state, the governing body here, the powers that be, know you had an accident. And just for some redundancy and safety's sake, let's just say you don't even know what to do, but you know you're bleeding from a part of your body that shouldn't normally be bleeding. So you run to the MD, the doctor, and you say, "Doctor, stop the bleeding." And the doctor says, "Well, what the hell happened to you?" And you say, "I was up on a ladder cutting tree limbs and I fell off the ladder and a chainsaw came and took me in the head and I'm bleeding out of my scalp." The doctor's going to say, "Well, holy shit. Let me sew you up and let me file with the workers' compensation board." So technically, if you never tell the workers' compensation board you got hurt and the insurance company never tells the workers' compensation board you got hurt, you simply going to the doctor should be enough to spark the assembly, at the very least, of a workers' compensation case. So if your employer is refusing to tell his insurance company and notify the board and their carrier, okay, well, you can't force anybody to do anything anymore. So go find a lawyer who can properly file your claim so you're protected. That's a great question. We do get that all the time. And my rudimentary triangle of notice has been drawn by me many, many times. I should probably get it spray painted on the walls here so I could just use it as like a chart to show people. But I probably draw that little chart once a week to show people how the Christmas tree of comp works. Got another, man, you guys, I love it. We got to get on the questions early so I can get to everybody. You guys nail me at the end. Got to go for a haircut today. I'm needing it. Dirty money, same here. 6 months ago, 6 months into my case, was offered a low number and got a lawyer a few weeks ago. Looks like we're going to settle at 70K. Getting a lawyer helps. I don't want to do, it helps. We're working on a settlement right now where, all I could say is the insurance company and I are not necessarily valuing the case similarly. We're looking at it from different perspectives, but we've had a lot of fruitful back and forth. And let's just say we've seen already, I put it close to like a 35% increase in their initial offer. And the numbers are significant. So having a lawyer helps. It's as simple as that. We've gotten people double what they were initially offered. I mean, time and time again. So having a lawyer who knows how to look at the case from different perspectives and put the best value package together is really the most important thing. That's what I love doing. I sit here with my notepad all day, case after case, and just churn them out, trying to figure out dollar values and how we can get the most for our people. And if you want help with yours, you call me, 212-406-8989. Machine Inc. Is this Marte? Let's go Mets. Yesterday I had a virtual meeting with WCB about payments. Delay back in November. Last year I expended 1 month with no money for Thanksgiving, thanks to the adjuster. Hearing was also, I was not sure why they don't educate people about the virtual meeting. I'm not sure if they're going to pay for the delay back in November. I'm so disappointed. So here we have somebody who had some late payments, non-payments, and the board may or may not be addressing it. But the virtual hearing process here in New York, yes, the board does not really educate, and it's hard for them to do it. I kind of get it. They now have a QR code on their hearing notices, and they say just scan the QR code and it'll bring you in. But you need to have enough of the computing power. Most phones are able to do it. Home computers, they have a little test case that you could run on your computer. And they kind of, as much as they tell people that you don't need a lawyer and however lawyers feel about the board and the action they take against us, the judges will always tell us that it's time we have to educate our clients on their computer usage and show them how to virtually log in. But you know what? It's difficult because, I mean, I do it every day. And how many times do I go to log in and all of a sudden there's a glitch, an error, a pop-up of this, restart, you know, something's not working. I have no video. I have no, how many times does that happen to every lawyer who does this stuff, you know, all day, every day? And what do I do with a client who says, well, I tried it last night and it said it was working and now I can't even do anything. And the judge is blowing up your phone saying, where the hell's your client? Well, the only other option is come to my office we'll pull a chair up right next to me and we sit here and talk to the judge together and show them that we're a unified team and we don't take no shit from nobody. Berserk, I don't know if I want you sitting next to me. You scare me with a name like that. Hi, Rex. If you're months away from being homeless because no money is coming in from your injuries, what happens? Why won't the lawyer try to expedite the urgency? It's been almost 2 years. 2 years is a long time. Expedite the urgency. Do you have an uninsured employer case? Would be my first question. It sounds like you probably do. It's hard to put uninsured employer cases are handled by the state. The state steps in, the UEF, the Uninsured Employers Fund steps in the place of the non-existent insurance company, and their state charter requires them to litigate every case as though it's a controverted claim. So they often do take longer. And then, especially with construction injuries and uninsured employers, who are all the contractors on the job site? Who is the general contractor? Did he work for the plumber? Or did he work for the framer? Did he work for the sheetrock guy? Or did he work for the electrician? Everyone's pointing fingers and blaming, and there's a whole lot going on. And you got to get a lot of people in the room to figure out who works for who and who's responsible for what and who had coverage and who didn't. And if there's a wrap-up policy, it gets crazy. And usually if I see 2 years on a case where nothing seemingly has happened, I'm going to feel like it's a uninsured employer construction type situation. Tell me if I'm wrong, Berserk. And you can come sit next to me. Couple more questions. It's called the knee kicker. Is that what the hell they call it? Just a fucking knee kicker? They don't have some cool name like the slap rapper. Just a knee kicker. All right. The knee kicker is what they use to install carpet. Shabboss knows what I'm talking about. And I thought it would have a much fancier or cooler name than knee kicker. Knee kicker, I think of like a 6-year-old running around. All right. Couple more questions here. Miss B, happy to see you feeling better. Thank you. I am feeling better. I did have a cold last week. That was a little brutal, but whatever. We all get it. I'm already getting my weekly payment, but workers' comp had denied and reduced hours of treatment for my injuries, so I had to seek legal advice. Okay, good. If there's a problem, if you don't have a lawyer and then a problem pops up, call your lawyer. Call a lawyer. And that's why it's good to have a lawyer from the start, because then you don't have to find a lawyer. You have a lawyer and you call the lawyer that you have, and they're there with access to your case, and they can hopefully fix your problem. But I'm glad you sought legal advice. If anybody needs legal advice and you want to talk to somebody, you can call me, 212-406-8989. All right, Callahan, thank you. You're welcome, my friend. Thank you for the great questions. Can I mow grass while on workers' comp? Yes, you can mow grass while you're on workers' comp, but don't tell your doctor, I can't even mow my lawn. And don't tell the insurance company doctor, my back is so bad, I can't even mow the grass anymore. And then go out and mow the grass, because now you're lying. So just be upfront and honest. My Italian's coming out. I'm yelling. Just be upfront, be honest. If you're able to mow the grass, tell your doctor, hey, by the way, once a week I go out and mow the lawn because I like mowing the effing lawn because that's what I do when I got to mow the lawn. Somebody's got to mow the lawn. Just be open and honest and upfront. Don't lie about anything. I recently just had medial meniscus surgery. Now I'm going through PT. My question is, how long before I reach MMI, and what, in your experience, what happens next? A year, schedule loss of use. It's usually a year from your date of surgery, and that's when they assess you for schedule loss of use. It depends on if you have any other injuries. Hopefully you don't have any problems that it happens, but hopefully you don't need new revision surgery or more treatment. Get your surgery, get yourself better, get yourself back to work. You're looking at a year, give or take. Was it a knee kicker injury? If you have any questions, give me a call, 212-406-8989. Donnie Rossiter, another one. Broken tib, fib, rods and screws in my leg. What's the odds for settlement? What's the odds of you making it through an airport without alarms going off? Broken tibial and fibular rods. Doing a settlement, been out of work for 2 months, but it's going to be longer. How long before settlement comes in Kentucky? I don't know Kentucky law. Here in New York State, 2 months it's a baby. It's an infant of a case. And I would, as your lawyer, I'd want you to make sure you got a good round of treatment and that your road ahead looks navigable if you're going to settle your case. So make sure you talk to your doctor and your lawyer about settling your case. Sky, thank you for your time and help. Thank you for the wonderful questions. Princess, I hope all is well. Rex, yes, all is great. When I first got my accident, my boss said I didn't have an accident. You just fell, and that still replays in my head 3 years later. Yes, yes. That's why, listen, we are here to help you. The lawyers of the world, most of them, some of them suck, but most of them are here to help. And this happens all the time. We had I've spoken about this particular incident before, and it's not even a client of mine. This is a person who was telling me a story about their case. He worked for the same company we talked about at the start of the show that delivers packages to your house. That's not the post office. He was working for that company doing Christmas holiday time, helper work. They hire extra people to come in and help because there's so many deliveries. And he was on a route delivering packages, and he tripped over the curb, or he hurt his foot and his ankle. And being the good employee that he was, he finished out his day, went back to the warehouse, and he said, "Hey, boss, by the way, at around 1:00, I tripped and stumbled and fell, and my ankle's killing me, and I'm going to go to the hospital once I'm done here today. But I finished my route." And his boss said, "Oh, really? What was the address you were at when the accident happened?" And he said, I don't remember. It happened, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't screw you guys over by just picking up and leaving for the day. I wanted to finish out my route and be a good worker. So I kind of just sucked it up and finished out my day. I didn't take notice of the address." And his boss told him, this is hearsay, so I wasn't there for the conversation, but he's telling me that his boss told him, "Well, if you don't have the exact address, you can't file a case. This isn't workers' comp. You should tell them at the hospital that's not a work comp case, and have a nice day." And what wound up happening was he did that, and he started getting bills from the hospital saying, "Hey, you got to pay." And he's like, "I don't have insurance. I'm not paying for this. This happened at work." And he's stuck, and he had to fight and kick and scream just to get the bill paid. And I said, "How bad is your ankle?" And he said, "It's still killing me." I said, "Well, we're in March right now. Go get treatment." "I don't want to go for more treatment. I don't want to deal with more bills." I said, and he's like, the kid was in his 20s. I said, "What happens if you have a permanent problem with your ankle? Who's going to take care of that for you?" He said, "I don't know. I hope I don't have a permanent problem." I said, "Oh, everyone hopes they don't have a permanent problem, but you kind of screwed yourself here." And why? Because he listened to his boss, who gave him the wrong information, and he's had the company's happy as a clam because that's one less case. And that's what happens. So consult with a lawyer. Berserk, when I say UEF case, I don't mean it's not a workers' compensation case. I mean it is a workers' compensation case, but instead of UEF just means there's no insurance company. Because there's no insurance company here in New York State, the UEF takes over for the insurance company. So it'd still be a workers' compensation case, but instead of you versus Travelers, or you versus State Insurance Fund, or you versus the City of New York as the insurance company, the UEF, New York State Department Uninsured Employers Fund, takes over for the insurance company, and handles it as though they're the carrier. Folks, with that, I'm going to start wrapping it up. John Doe thinks Rexy confused between meniscus to an ACL, TCL. Meniscus is relatively simple. Yeah, maybe I did. That's why I am not a doctor. But I thank everybody. You guys had great questions today. I love doing Q&As with you because we can kind of, I get to bounce. But if anybody has any questions, you can always feel free to give me a call, 212-406-8989. I am Rex Zachofsky. I'm here to help. I love helping you guys. You always have great questions, great input. I appreciate all the input we've been getting, all the clients that have been calling me. If you have questions, feel free to call. I love hearing from everybody, and we're doing our best to handle as many cases as we can and take care of our good friends. That's what we're here for. If you're out of state and you need help finding an attorney, as I've said before, we can help you find an attorney in other places. 212-406-8989. Let's go Mets. Let's go Rangers. I know we might not make the playoffs. We're right on the cusp. They're killing me right now. But hey, I'm a Ranger fan, and everyone should be too. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, and we will see you all next week. When are we going to see them next week, Si? Let's take a look at the calendario here. Next week, we have the 19th is a Wednesday. How about I'm good for Wednesday or Thursday. So let's pencil everybody in for Wednesday, March 19th at 4 p.m., a 4 to 5er. And Sai's going to nail that down and confirm it. And Miss B, I missed her question. What was your question? Okay, one more question. Miss B is yelling at me. Although you say attorneys do not get paid unless they receive a settlement, the attorney said they don't work for free and will take the payment out of my weekly checks. I was told the payments would be routed to the attorney's trust and 20% would be taken for payment and the difference would be distributed to me. So if there is a settlement, will the attorney receive 20% of the settlement? It sounds like you're not in New York State. Confirm that for me, Ms. B. I'm sorry I missed your question. Confirm. Are you in New York State? It sounds like this is not a New York State case. The answer I gave about attorney fees before was New York specific. As I've said before, most of the answers I give, all the answers I give are New York specific and they're general answers. I don't know the laws in every state. My brain would explode. There would be a mess. If Louisiana, I say I knew that just by the way I'm getting it, I don't know the answer to your question. Call your lawyer. If you think your lawyer is not giving you straight, direct answers and you have some other questions, I don't know what this means. He already went ref. Anyway, Cy left. Anyway, if you have questions, call the Bar Association. I'm not saying to file a complaint, please. I would never. If you have a question, you can call your workers' compensation board. I know here in New York, if you had a question about an attorney's fee and you couldn't get an answer from anybody that you felt was reliable, call the board. They'll give you the answer. Here in New York State, it's Section 24. They lay it out literally. It's a legal document, but it's right there in front of you. Call your board. Those are generalized questions. Google it. They'll find it on Google. Double Vision wants to know about no tax and overtime. I like it. I like it. That's what I'm going to give you. This is not a political show. I have no political feelings as far as everybody's concerned. It's a no-win conversation, and I don't want to have that. But no tax and overtime. If you're working overtime, it means you're breaking your ass. If you're breaking your ass, you need to get a little bit of a benefit. And yeah, you get time and a half, but hey, if no tax can work, I kind of like it. Actually, now my staff's going to hold me to it. Thanks for painting me into a corner there. All right, folks. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a wonderful weekend. And Wednesday, Cy, I'll text you Wednesday, the 19th, 4 p.m. But keep your eye on the schedule and the loop-de-loop and whatever we post up there. Because if he wants to do Thursday, we might do Thursday, but we'll talk about it. All right, guys. Have a wonderful day. Thanks. Bye-bye.